Hi, and welcome to Stamp with Ginny. Today I'm going to show you these amazing Magnolia Lane folding albums. These are so quick and easy to do, and they are going to impress anyone. These open to include 4 squares that you can decorate with sentiments or photos even. So let me show you how I created these. Okay, for the cover you're going to need 2 pieces of tag board and 2 pieces of designer series paper, along with your sticky strip or other adhesive. So I'm going to flip this over because I want to use the flowers as the outside, and I am going to lay this piece of tag board on the center, and then I am going to simply fold up each edge. Now I'm doing this without adhesive the first time because I want to make sure that my lines are nice and tight. And I'm going to do that on all 4 edges. There we go. And now that I've got that folded, I'm going to bring my bone folder in and crease those lines again so they're nice and sharp. And then I am going to bring in my tag board again, lining up those lines. And I am going to fold this corner down over the point on each one of these corners. And what that's doing is it's going to give me a miter when I adhere this. So 3 and 4. And you want to make sure you've put that back in the same orientation so you've got a nice tight fit. Once I've got that done, I am ready to start adding adhesive. So I'm going to lay my tear and tape, and one of my friends showed me recently this quick and easy tip. If you don't like to use your scissors or tear, simply use a plastic gift card and or old card that you have laying around. Simply lay that down and pull, and you got this nice straight line, which is wonderful if you have a problem with your scissors more so. Okay, so I am going to lay that here, and I've got all 4 sides covered. And then I'm going to get ready to lay this corner point down first. So I like to add a little piece of sticky or other adhesive in the corner here on each one of these. And once again, I'm trying to make sure I'm keeping my orientation of the tag board the way it was in case the measurement is slightly not square. Okay, so I've got that back in place. I'm pulling up my side so that I know it's going to be nice and tight. And then I am going to pull this sticky strip protective layer off on all 4 corners. There we go. Once again, I'm going to line this up, and if you wanted to, you could put a piece of or a little bit of snail adhesive on the other side to hold it in place so that it didn't move. So I am going to bring these 4 corners up, and I'm going to adhere that down so that I've started my miter. And then I am going to bring up that center piece on all 4 sides, making sure that it's nice and tight up against my tag board. There we go, and I've got 1 cover done. It's that quick and easy. So I'm going to set this aside, and I am going to do the second one. Okay, before we add the ribbon down the center, I like to take my bone folder and make sure these corners are nice and flat on both of the covers. And what that's going to do is give you a nicer finished piece when you get ready to add the pages. Okay, so now we're ready to add the ribbon. Okay, for this project I'm going to use our beautiful petal pink organdy ribbon, and I'm going to measure off about 24 inches. So let's line this up with the grid paper here. You can do 24 to 30 inches depending on how you're comfortable tying your bow. It just depends. And then I'm going to move in my cover here, and I'm going to lay this across and add a piece of tear and tape down the center. remove the cover for the tear and tape, and then lay this ribbon about halfway across the cover. So I folded it in half to give me a judgment, and I'm laying this down on the tear and tape with half on each side. So we're going to assemble the album next. So let me show you how that's done. Okay, for this next step, I'm going to show you how I do the pages. It's this folded piece that's pretty simple to do once you see how it's done. So I'm going to bring in my cardstock. I like to use Whisper White or Very Vanilla for this because it's thinner. And I'm going to score it 4 inches. And then I'm going to turn it a corner of a turn, and I am going to score at 4 inches. And I am going to repeat that for all 3 pieces. And I can remove my board to the side. So once I've got that done, I'm going to fold on each one of these score lines on all sides. And then I am going to fold this in half diagonally to create this triangle, making sure to line up those points carefully, and the corner points also. And now I've got a piece that looks like this, and I am going to use my bone folder again, and I am going to turn it over or inside out and use my bone folder on those lines again. And I want to continue doing this until I've broken down the fibers so that it folds easily. And you can push these 2 corners in from the side and do it this way also. And what this is going to do is break down those fibers so that things move a little easier on your album. And you're going to repeat that with all 3 pieces. Okay, once I have all 3 pieces folded and used my bone folder multiple times in order to make these pages turn more easily, I am going to open them up, and I am looking for this solid square here. So I am going to put one solid square on top of the other, and I am getting ready to adhere these together. So what I'm going to do is take my multi-purpose adhesive, and you can use your tear and tape for this. I'm just using this so that it's a little quicker for you. And I am going to lay this first square on top of the other one and adhere. Now it's real important to keep these straight, and then I'm going to adhere this third sheet on top of this second square and adhere, butting those up nice and tight. And I'm going to burnish with my fingers a little bit here. Okay, so when I fold these in on the 2 sides, they're going to go this way, and this particular diamond is going to go backwards on top and bottom. And like I said, the more you work your cardstock, the easier this will be. So I folded those back, and at this point I can take my bone folder again and go over things to create a nice tight fold. Okay, so let me open that up again. We've got the 2 points with the triangles going to the top, and the fold is towards the center. And then we've got the center one where it forms a peak, and then the third sheet here, or third part that we scored, is going to once again go towards the center. So now we're ready to decorate before we add this to our covers. Okay, for the inside pieces, I am going to need 4 pieces of solid cardstock. These are for the squares where the pictures or whatever you want to put in your book goes. And these measure 3.5 by 3.5. There's 4 of those in the petal pink. And then I need 6 pieces of designer series paper. These also measure 3.5 by 3.5, but we're going to cut these to fit on the panel. So I'm going to show you quickly how I did that. I'm looking for 2 triangles, and so what I'm going to do is set this on my trimmer. I'm going to make sure that each point is on the groove, and then I'm simply going to cut. Now it's real important that you keep these together so that you know which pieces work with each pattern-wise. In case they get twisted a little bit, your patterns won't line up. So 2, and you're going to repeat that with all 6 pieces. Okay, I am going to bring my book back in, and I am going to start adhering these solid pieces down. So I'm going to quickly add those, centered in each one of these diamond shapes. Okay, and at this point you need to decide how you want your designer series paper to lay. If you want the floral side showing, or if you would like the back side showing, that's up to you. And we're going to start by adding some adhesive here onto each one of these triangles, and then flipping them over, centering them on the triangle, and adhering each part. And you're going to repeat that for all 6 areas. Okay, now that I have my designer series paper on my pages, I'm ready to start assembling the book. So I am going to fold these. There we go. Okay, I've got my cover here. Paying attention to the orientation is important. So I've got my ribbon going across the center to the right and left, and I've got my album pages here. And once again, I'm going to open this slightly so that I can see those full cardstock panels. They run down the center with the designer series paper on the top and bottom. And I'm particularly looking for this corner and this corner, and I'm going to close that with my finger there, and I'm going to lay that on my album here so that when I open it, it opens correctly. So now that I've got that, I'm going to add some adhesive here, and for this I do like to use either the liquid adhesive and or the tear and tape because it's a nice strong hold. And then I'm going to carefully flip that over, making sure that that open corner is down to the bottom right, and I am going to center that on my album. This is the back cover we're doing first, and I am going to press and count to 10 so that I know that that's adhered well. And then I can bring my bone folder in, open it a little bit, and burnish so that I know that that whole area has good contact. Okay, and at this point I'm getting ready to do the front cover, so once again I am going to lay down my multi-purpose adhesive. And if you notice, I am not going right out to the edge with my multi-purpose because it does ooze a little bit or move, and so you don't want it to ooze out the corners. And I am going to lay that on the top, and once again hold down, count to 10, and then I'm going to open up that and use my bone folder to make sure I've got really good contact with that multi-purpose adhesive. Okay, at this point you can open your album carefully. There we go. It's a beautiful album that you can put pictures or sentiments and decorate the squares as you'd like. Once again, the more you work this, the better it's going to open the way you want it. And then it's a simple matter of tying your bow. Just love this petal pink organdy ribbon. It's so soft and feminine, and trim as desired. And when the person gets it, they can simply untie the bow and open a wonderful surprise. If you'd like any of these products, feel free to stop by my online store. You can get there from my blog, Stamp with Jini. Thanks for joining me.